So I'll do a lesson here for this Green Day song. And way back in 2007, when I first wanted to learn guitar, this was the first song I tried to play. And I didn't do very well with it. I actually lasted 2 weeks playing guitar at that point, and I couldn't work out how to play it. So it was about a year later then that I properly picked up the guitar and stuck with it till today. So the reason I'd like to do a lesson with you is it took me a while to learn how to play it because of the quite tricky picking part in it, or at least I thought it was tricky for a number of years until I started to view it in a different way. So I want to teach you the song, but also want to teach you the concept behind the picking here, and I'll show you a few ideas of how you could use it in other songs, maybe your own songs too. So before I get to the picking, I'm just going to go straight to the strumming part in the song, which is not too bad if you've been playing guitar for a little bit. So I'm just going to demonstrate some of the strumming parts here because it's going to help with the picking parts, okay? So just bear with me. The important part of this is the strumming pattern that I'm doing on the chords is going to be the guideline for what you're doing during the picking parts, and that was something I didn't know for a long time, or I didn't understand. Okay, so the strumming parts in the song all follow one pretty basic strumming pattern: down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. That's going to be the rhythm for all the strumming parts. Okay, so when you're working on a rhythm, I like to choke off the strings like that and just hear it percussively like that. So I'll go back to the picking bit now because we're going to take that idea and apply it to the certain strings we have to pick. Okay, so if I just take what's basically a G chord being outlined here. So this would be the first chord you'll need in the song. When you go to apply the picking pattern that you'll see in the tab, the picking motions I want you to think of are down, down, up, down, up. And also think of how your arm moves when you're strumming. You're going to try and replicate that when you're trying to pick out the individual strings. So I'll get it going here for you, and I just want you to watch the picking hand. Okay, so there or thereabouts, when you're picking these individual strings, on this G formation, try this. Down, down, up, down, up. The exact same as the strumming pattern, so that's down, down, up, down, up. Now, think of it more in a strumming way than picking out all the individual strings, okay? Try to avoid doing this kind of thing. You know, that's very uncomfortable, cumbersome, doesn't flow well. So as you're going through this, try and keep the arm loose and moving the way you would do when you're strumming. The only difference is you're keeping that movement going, but you're trying to pick individual strings and be a bit more accurate on where you're placing the pick at times, okay? And I guarantee that will get you more towards the speed of the song instead of you thinking of this as just a picking part, think of it as combining picking and strumming, if you will. But you're just being real accurate where you're making contact with the strings. So take this same pattern on this G formation, same picking pattern. Move it to the C add 9 looking formation. And then hit what's really a D5 in this case, but just a D shape, but you don't have to put your middle finger where it usually would be for a D chord. And in this case, I hit the first two strings of that chord with your down pick. So that's down, down, up, down, up. And again, think back to your strumming pattern that you're doing in the song. That's what you're applying when you're doing the picking part. And try and keep that loose and moving all the time, okay? What I would suggest is, this is going to get messy at times and inaccurate, but it's better to develop this movement of relaxation, trying to pick out the individual strings, and worry about how perfect it is later. You've got to get the muscle memory imprinted, this side especially, okay? Because I never found this easy for quite a while until I found out how to practice it in the proper way. So just take each of those chords in the main part and practice them over and over, and you can just stare at this side a lot to give yourself some help. And you'll find the more you go on, you'll get a bit more accurate. Don't worry about a bit of mess in there at first when you're trying to get these techniques down. So I'm going to play through the little intro all the way to the end of the first verse, and that's all the picking parts at the start of the song. After that it goes into some strumming. So to really help you with this song, what I would recommend is get a nice sharp fresh pick, okay? Don't have a pick that's all worn and blunt and too flimsy. You want a decent pick here that's going to be nice and accurate for your picking. So I love these little Jim Dunlop 0.5 Tortex picks. They've got nice flexibility, but they're nice and pointy, so I'll put some links into where you can get those. And then as you're going through the tab, you'll notice during the picking parts that there's something that says let ring. Now what that means is there are chord shapes being held down, kind of implied. You just keep your fingers planted whilst you're picking through the certain strings, okay? So that's all that means. Now with the picking and strumming idea in mind, where you're combining these things and keeping the arm loose, I'll just show you what you could do with some other common songs. So maybe Hotel California by the Eagles. Just apply this same technique. And what I would say, don't worry so much about accuracy when you're getting this going. Try to keep loose, and really any string in the chord is legal when you're doing this kind of thing. So don't worry about a bit of messiness and awkwardness at first when you're trying to get this going. Once your arm gets into the groove, you'll get much more relaxed at it and it'll sound better. So Stand By Me by Ben King's another easy song that you'd apply this sort of thing to. So any of your open chords, any songs you know, any songs of your own, you can apply this technique to. And the biggest thing here is keep that arm moving and just start getting comfortable with picking out the strings without really getting too tense on the picking hand. You'll notice when I'm doing it there, I'm not always looking over there. For whatever reason, when you look away, sometimes it starts to get a bit better. So the Green Day song itself is cool, but there's some other examples of how you could use the technique.